Here's something that should bother you. There is a mineral you can hold in one hand that eliminates body odor completely. Not for a few hours. Not until the heat hits. Completely. It costs about $1. And the global deodorant industry generates close to $25 billion a year, according to Statista's 2024 Global Personal Care Market Report, selling you a product that runs out in about 2 weeks. A mineral that lasts 2 years cannot be sold on a subscription. That is not a theory. That is math. This mineral has been pressed to human skin for at least 3,000 years. People in ancient Egypt knew about it. Romans built an entire export trade around it. A physician writing in the year 1025 described exactly how to use it on skin. And then, in 1912, a series of advertising campaigns in American magazines effectively erased 1,000 years of household knowledge, not through any law, not through any ban, through shame. Manufactured, deliberate, profitable shame. There's one detail about how this mineral actually works that almost everyone gets wrong. If you miss that detail, you will try this once, decide it failed, and go back to the plastic stick. That detail is coming. And it is the difference between this working perfectly and not working at all. The deodorant and antiperspirant industry in the United States alone generates approximately $9 billion a year, according to Statista's 2023 U.S. personal care market analysis. Globally, that number sits closer to $25 billion. In 1912, an entrepreneur named Edna Murphy began placing full-page advertisements in major American magazines for a product called Odor-causing. Historian Julianne Civulka documented in her 2001 book, Stronger Than Dirt, A Cultural History of Advertising, Personal Hygiene in America, 1875 to 1940, that these campaigns were among the first in history to frame natural human body odor as a social offense, a source of embarrassment, something that cost you friendships and professional opportunities. Before those campaigns, the vast majority of Americans simply did not view body odor as an urgent, marketable problem requiring a purchased solution. A mineral crystal that costs $1 and lasts 2 years cannot generate shame. Shame is a business model. The mineral is called alum. Its full name is potassium aluminum sulfate, but you will not need that name to do anything in this video. What you need to know is that alum forms naturally inside the earth, has been sitting there for hundreds of millions of years, and that human beings have been finding it, pulling it out, and pressing it against their skin for a very, very long time. Ancient Egyptians used it. Medical scholar John Nunn documented in his 1996 book, Ancient Egyptian Medicine, that alum appears in Egyptian medical papyri as an astringent. An astringent is anything that tightens and firms soft tissue when it touches it. Think about what happens when you hold an ice cube against a bruised area and feel the skin firm up and the swelling slow down. That tightening and purifying action is what ancient Egyptian physicians documented. They noticed that skin treated with alum resisted infection and odor, and they wrote it down on papyrus while the pyramids at Giza were still relatively new. The Romans took it further than anyone before them. They mined alum from sites spread across the empire. The most significant known Roman-era alum source in Europe was rediscovered at Tolfa, in the hills of central Italy in the 1460s. But according to historians affiliated with the Tolfa Civic Museum and recorded in regional archaeological literature, Romans had been extracting alum from that area for centuries before that medieval rediscovery. Roman merchants traded it across Europe and North Africa. The textile industry depended on it for preparing fabric to hold dye. Physicians prescribed it. Roman soldiers applied it to skin wounds because of how it slowed bleeding and reduced the conditions that led to infection. Barbers kept a small piece at their workstation and pressed it to the small nicks on customers' faces after shaving. The very same property that makes it work on a shaving cut, the way it changes the surface environment of skin just enough that bacteria cannot thrive, is the same property that makes it work as a deodorant. Then comes the most important name in this history. Ibn Sina, known in Europe as Avicenna, was an Arabian physician and scholar who completed what became one of the most widely used medical encyclopedias in human history. His Canon of Medicine, written around the year 1025, describes alum's actions on the skin in terms that sound, if you strip away the archaic vocabulary, remarkably close to a modern ingredient description. That book was used as a medical teaching text in European universities for the next 600 years. 600 years. This was not a folk remedy passed down through whisper. This was the curriculum. In East Asia and Southeast Asia, the crystal form of alum was a standard item sold in local markets for centuries, the same way soap or salt was sold. In Thailand, Malaysia, and the Philippines, it is still sold in local markets today. You can find it on the same shelf as soap and toothpaste, often labeled simply as deodorant stone or crystal deodorant, often for the equivalent of less than $1 American. Nothing about it has been reformulated or improved. The mineral on those market shelves today and the mineral on those market shelves 200 years ago are the same thing. You've actually encountered alum before without ever knowing what it was. If you have ever eaten a store-bought pickle, the kind that makes a satisfying crunch when you bite it, There's a trace amount of alum in that jar. It is used in commercial pickling to keep cucumbers firm and crisp by tightening the cell structure of the vegetable. The United States Food and Drug Administration lists alum as generally recognized as safe for food use. The same mineral that 3,000 years of human beings have been pressing to their skin is in your refrigerator right now. Stop and sit with that for a second. An ingredient considered safe enough to eat, used daily in markets across Southeast Asia, documented in the world's most read medical texts, with a history stretching back to ancient Egypt. Completely unknown to most households in North America and Western Europe. Not because it stopped working, because something more profitable replaced it in the story. The mistake is not in the mineral. The mistake is not in the history. The mistake that makes people try this once and give up lives in a single step, and that step is the first one. Here's what you need, and I want to be honest with you about every number. You need 1 alum crystal. In health food stores, it is usually sold as a deodorant stone or crystal deodorant. In Asian, Middle Eastern, or South Asian grocery stores, it may just be labeled alum or fitkari and cost under $1. Online, a crystal roughly the size of a chicken egg costs between $1 and $3. That size crystal, used every day and stored properly between uses, will last between 1 and 2 years. Many people get 3 years from one piece. You need water. That is the entire list. No essential oil, no mixing anything into anything, no carrier solution, no spray bottle, no special storage container, just the crystal and whatever comes out of your tap. That is genuinely it. The mistake lives in the very first step. Not the last, the first. Here's the one thing most people get wrong, and it is so simple that most people feel slightly foolish when they hear it. They apply the crystal dry. That is the complete mistake. When you press a dry alum crystal to your skin, almost nothing transfers. You're pressing a smooth, hard mineral against a surface and expecting it to leave something behind. It will not. The crystal must be wet to work. That single requirement is the entire difference between the people who use this successfully and the people who try it once, feel nothing, and conclude it is useless. Here is what actually happens when it is wet. Picture pressing a damp finger into a small pile of table salt and then touching that finger to a dry piece of paper. The salt leaves an almost invisible layer exactly where your finger touched. You can barely see it. You almost certainly cannot feel it. But if you lick that spot on the paper, the salt is there. That invisible transfer is precisely what a wet alum crystal does on your skin. It leaves a thin, continuous film of dissolved mineral across the surface. No color, no detectable texture, nothing that shows on clothing. Just a presence your bacteria encounter before they can go to work. That film is what stops the odor. Most people assume sweat is the problem. It is not. Fresh sweat from a healthy person is almost entirely odorless. Here is what is actually happening. Your skin is covered in bacteria. Billions of them doing what bacteria do. Most of them are harmless. But a specific group, mainly in a family called Corynebacterium, feeds on the proteins and fatty acids that come out in your sweat. These bacteria consume those compounds and convert them into different molecules. Those converted molecules are what you can smell. The sharp, particular odor that human beings recognize as body odor is a byproduct of bacterial digestion, the exhaust of a very small living process happening on your skin surface. Researchers at the University of York published work in 2020 identifying the specific enzyme inside these bacteria responsible for that conversion step. The sweat does not smell. The eating smells. The alum film on your skin changes that surface environment just enough. Not enough to irritate, not enough to feel different, just enough that those bacteria cannot survive or multiply at full activity in that area. No bacterial activity. No conversion of sweat proteins into odor compounds. No smell. You will still sweat. You will still feel moisture on a hot day. But the process that turns that moisture into something you can detect across a room simply does not begin. Now here is exactly how to apply it. You wash in the shower the same way you always do. Before you fully dry off, while the skin is still damp but not dripping, you pick up the crystal. Hold it under the water from your shower for 2 or 3 seconds. Not until it is running wet, just until the surface has a slick, coated feel. Then press it gently against your underarm and move it in slow, even strokes. Think of the pace and the pressure of spreading cold butter across very soft bread, just the natural weight of your hand resting on the crystal, nothing more. About 10 to 15 strokes, covering the whole area. Even coverage matters more than how hard you press. Then do the other side the same way. Now stop. Do not towel off the area you just treated. Do not fan it. Let it air dry naturally for about 60 seconds before you put a shirt on. This drying step is not a suggestion. It is the step where the mineral film actually bonds to the surface of your skin. If you cover the area or wipe it before the 60 seconds are up, you remove most of what you just applied. The 60 seconds is the whole mechanism. Do not skip it. For the first 3 to 7 days, some people noticed the crystal working slightly less completely than the commercial antiperspirant they were using before. This is completely normal, and it is not a failure. Commercial antiperspirants use a synthetic compound, aluminum chlorohydrate or aluminum zirconium, that works by physically plugging sweat gland openings the same way a cork plugs a bottle. That compound builds up in your skin with daily use over months and years. It takes several days to fully clear out once you stop applying it. During that transition, your skin is adjusting. You're not doing anything wrong. You're waiting for the old chemistry to leave your skin so the new protection can work on clean tissue. After the transition, the picture changes significantly for most people. The test is not the first hour. The test is the 12th hour. If there is no odor at the 12-hour mark, the application was correct. If odor appears within 3 or 4 hours, one of 3 things happened. The crystal was dry when you applied it, you did not cover the area evenly, or you covered your skin before the mineral layer dried. There's a heat and exertion variable worth understanding. On a very hot day or during intense physical activity, you may want to reapply once, not because the mineral stops working in heat, but because heavy sweating can wash the thin protective film away faster than the bacterial cycle can develop. This is just physics. Enough running water removes any coating from any surface. The fix is a 10-second reapplication. Rinse the crystal, 10 strokes, let it dry. Carrying the crystal in a bag is easy because it does not leak, stain clothing, require a special cap, or expire. If 2 full weeks of correct daily application still produce odor, the solution in almost every case is more strokes and a wetter crystal at the start of each application. People with dense underarm hair sometimes need to apply with slightly more deliberate pressure to ensure the mineral film reaches the skin surface beneath the hair, not just the outer layer of the hair itself. Think about what this looks like over a lifetime. One person switching from commercial deodorant to an alum crystal saves somewhere between $80 and $90 a year, depending on the brand they were using and how often they replaced it. Over 10 years, that is approaching $900. Over 60 years of daily use, from adolescence onward, the savings are close to $5,000 returned to your pocket from one small, single change. That number buys a serious set of hand tools. It buys a full season of garden seeds every single year. It buys a modest emergency fund built entirely from a decision made in the personal care aisle of a grocery store. A family of 4 multiplies that by 4. In 5 years, a family that switches entirely has redirected the equivalent of several months of grocery bills. That arithmetic is not dramatic. It is just true. Now think about what this looks like in a scenario where stores are not reliably stocked, or supply chains are disrupted, or you are going somewhere without easy access to a pharmacy for weeks at a time. Commercial deodorant expires. It runs out on a schedule you cannot fully predict because use rates vary. Aerosol cans are restricted on planes. Gels and soft sticks over a certain size are restricted in carry-on bags. A crystal the size of an egg takes up almost no space, weighs almost nothing, does not qualify as a liquid under travel rules, and does not expire. Stored somewhere cool and dry, kept away from standing water so it does not slowly dissolve between uses, it simply exists. Ready, indefinitely, no subscription, no expiration date, no asking anyone's permission. There's one more thing about this mineral that took time to come clearly into focus. And once you see it, it changes how you look at most of the personal care products on those store shelves. This mineral is not an antiperspirant. That distinction matters. Antiperspirants stop sweating by physically blocking sweat glands. Alum does not do that. You will still produce moisture. If you are in heat or doing physical work, you will feel that moisture. That is your body doing what it was built to do, regulating your temperature, cooling your skin, moving trace compounds out through the surface. Blocking that process entirely is not a biological need. What alum stops is the bacterial process that converts that moisture into odor. Moisture and odor are 2 separate events that happen in sequence. Nearly every commercial product deliberately conflates them because the same product handling both is worth more to sell. For most people, the adjustment to feeling moisture without odor is a small one. For some, it takes a week of noticing before it stops registering. For others, in a cooler climate or a desk-based daily routine, they notice almost no change in moisture level at all. A small number of people develop skin irritation with direct alum application. Redness, mild itching in the first few days. This is uncommon, but it is real. If that happens, stop, rinse with cool water, and try applying a thin layer of unscented shea butter to the skin first. That creates a light barrier that allows the antimicrobial effect to function without direct mineral contact. That adjustment handles most sensitive skin cases, not all. Foot odor, while some people report success there, involves a different and more varied bacterial community on thicker skin. Results are inconsistent. The underarm application is where the mineral's record across cultures and across centuries is clearest. Ibn Sina wrote about this in the year 1025. He described a mineral pressed to skin that prevented the conditions his patients found troubling. He did not know the word bacteria He did not know about enzymatic pathways or volatile organic compounds, or the precise molecular mechanics of why a thin film of dissolved mineral changes what can survive on a skin surface. He simply watched what happened. He observed the result. He wrote it down carefully enough that the most respected physicians in Europe were still teaching it 6 centuries after his death. The crystal sitting in a Thai market stall today is the same mineral Ibn Sina was writing about. It is the same mineral a Roman barber pressed to a customer's face 2,000 years ago. It is the same mineral an Egyptian physician documented on papyrus before the concept of a nation called Rome even existed. 3,000 years of recorded use. Available at every health food store in the country, about $1. It was not buried because it stopped working. Wet it. Apply it. Let it dry. That is the whole thing.